Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegas Weekly for Saturday, July the 9th, 2022. Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend last weekend. On today's show, we're going to follow up, I would say mostly follow up on a couple of news stories. Going to introduce you to another new Vegas theme or Vegas leaning channel. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. And then I'll go on kind of one of my little personal digressions, which, some of you really enjoy and the rest of you will probably end the video at, that 6-minute mark or whatever it is. I did mention it last week and I'm going to go ahead and reiterate it for you now. We will not have a podcast on Monday and we will not be doing a regular Tuesday and Thursday short show, our little Vegas tips and tricks show. Taking a little time away from the channel this week, kind of recharge the batteries, relax a little bit. So, but have no fear, we'll be back again next week with a full set of shows. So I do want to appreciate all of you that have been watching Vegas Tips and Tricks. We're up to number 27. I think at the start I said I was going to do 100 of these Vegas Tips and Tricks episodes, and that's still the plan. So we're 27% of the way through. We got a long ways to go, got a lot more resorts to cover, got a lot more ideas to share. Okay, so we talked last week, I guess it was last week, it was the week before, it was last week. We talked a little bit about some issues with violence in Las Vegas, particularly downtown on Fremont Street. And almost as we were recording the show, there was another incident, another shooting incident. I don't believe anyone was seriously injured in this case, but once again, pretty scary. And the downtown area the Fremont Street experience is apparently going to make some changes, at least on the weekends, to try, and this seems to be when it's happening, to try and make sure this kind of thing does not keep happening. If you remember, or if you were a visitor to Las Vegas during the whole COVID epidemic, they had those little checkpoints as you basically come under the canopy. It sounds like those are going to be coming back. There may be metal detectors. There's probably going to be ID checks at several locations. I believe I read somewhere that there's already technically a curfew between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. But also that it may be extended from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Because again, a number of the people that have been involved in these incidents have been underage, and so really have no particular business wandering around Fremont Street for whatever reason at midnight or 2 a.m. So it sounds like that's going to be coming into effect at least over the weekend. I don't know that it has dropped in this weekend. If anybody is in Las Vegas spending any time downtown over the weekend and you see something, let me know. But hopefully this will help stop this. Again, it just seems like when you get these kinds of incidents, they come in bunches. And that's just not good. I've seen a number of folks in our Facebook group who've already been talking about being a little skittish about going downtown. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about safety. I don't even think I'm going to go downtown. That's not the kind of thing you want to hear. So hopefully this is going to help with that. Another bit of news today, there's a new resort coming to the Las Vegas Strip. Well, depending on how you define the Las Vegas Strip. And over the next decade, we may be defining it as something further south than we have in the past. The Dream Hotel, which will have a gaming floor. I don't think a particularly large one. It's only going to be, I think, a few hundred rooms. They broke ground on Friday, and they're expected to open sometime in 2024. I'm guessing probably towards the end of 2024. If you're curious about the location of this property, it's between Mandalay Bay and the Las Vegas sign, and more specifically, it's actually located between the new location of the Pinball Hall of Fame and that big Harley-Davidson store dealership. So it's going to be right in that lot. So we'll be keeping an eye on that construction. And as I say, we may be defining the Strip as something further to the south because if you'll recall, just a few weeks ago we talked about the new arena project that would take place at Las Vegas Boulevard and Blue Diamond in the neighborhood of the Silverton Casino. So it'll be interesting to look and see if we continue to see more development into that area. Obviously, there's not a lot of space on the Strip proper for development anymore, so keep an eye on that. Finally, in the news this week, wanted to talk about the opening of the first off-campus station of the new Las Vegas Underground Loop project. And we talked about that, I don't know, probably 6 months ago. You can now ride it not only within the Las Vegas Convention Center, but to and from Resorts World. Now, currently it's free of charge, but there will at some point be a price. I don't know if any of you have been inside the Las Vegas Convention Center, or certainly inside of it recently. It is a massive complex. And so having the ability to move people from different parts of that convention center is very useful, and that's been going on for a little while now. Resorts World is the first station outside of the convention center. I believe the next one is scheduled to be at Wynn Encore. And of course, the current plans are at some point to extend this loop to 55 stations around Las Vegas, including downtown, including off-strip properties like the Orleans, including the UNLV campus, I think even the airport at some point. So it is interesting to see that this is happening. Now this is not going to move just like tens of thousands of people at one time. These are private vehicles, little Teslas. Currently they have a capacity of just 3 people. But that should at some point extend to 12. And there's something to be said for the modularity of a smaller vehicle. If you have a bus and it holds 50 people, you can move 50 people, but you really can only move them along a particular route. Whereas if you have 50 different vehicles, or in this case maybe 15 different vehicles moving the same people, you can move them to a number of different locations at the same time. So I'm optimistic about this. It's one thing about it. It's being done by the Boring Company, which is an Elon Musk company, and there's some pretty deep pockets there, particularly now that he's not going to buy Twitter. So I think this could happen. And anything we can do to sort of relieve the traffic congestion is certainly going to be a positive thing. And so, once again, we'll keep you up to date on this going forward. Okay, so now it's time for our weekly feature, where we introduce you to a YouTube channel with at least some Vegas connections. And we're going to do that again today with these folks right here. Mike and Joey from Basic to Bougie Restaurant Reviews. So I first became aware of these guys with a collaboration they did a while back with Seeking Vegas Sunrise. They were looking for like the best Peking duck. It was a really entertaining piece. And as I've mentioned so many times, there are so many channels to try to keep track of. I kind of lost track of them. And when I was sort of searching for some new content, one of my good friends, Tom of Tom and Mindy, you know them, you love them, you can't live without them, suggested that, hey, this should be one of your channels of the week, and I had to agree. So they do some really good restaurant stuff, obviously, and a lot of it is in Vegas. And I really like Vegas channels, particularly anymore. I really like Vegas channels that kind of focus in on a particular topic or a particular sort of specialty, whether it be restaurants, whether it be gambling, whatever it might be, hotel rooms. It kind of gives you an idea of what you're in for, and usually provides more information than you get on these general channels that just talk in general about Vegas. So I think you'd enjoy these folks. They do have a really professional channel, and I'm like, they should have more than 440 subscribers. Everybody that's watching this should be watching that. So go check them out. I'll put a link to them as always in the show notes below. And check them out if you like them. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And hey, if you're watching this show, we do a Vegas channel or a Vegas related channel every week, and keep you up to date on news, information about Las Vegas. So hopefully, if you're not already, you'll also subscribe to this channel. So thank you for that. Okay, so before I get started on my little digression about Las Vegas today, I did want to let you know that a couple of the most popular, I would say, UK vloggers at least, either are in Las Vegas or will be very shortly. Matt Bridger arrived a few days ago. If you haven't checked out his channel lately, he already has the first 2 days of this trip's vlog. I think he's seeing a number of the Morrissey shows at Caesar's Palace. And doing plenty of gambling. So definitely check that out. And then next week, Nikki and Claire, the Firmages, if you will, Coin Show Claire, they will be in the U.S. and I believe arriving in Las Vegas on Monday. So I'm sure they will provide some good content. That I know usually the vlogs come out in their case sometime after they get home, but if you're not following him on Twitter, I'm sure there'll be some entertaining photos and thoughts as well. So a few weeks we did a show about what I call Vegas blind spots, and it seemed to strike a chord with a number of people. And you know, it's the kind of thing as well that applies to any vacation destination or even your home. It's really easy to get comfortable just doing the same things over and over again, staying in the same places, eating at the same restaurants, etc. So I think it kind of opened up my eyes a little bit, and I think it did for a number of people. And I started thinking this week a little bit about kind of a Vegas bucket list, if you will. And it's not because I'm that old. I am old enough to get like 55 plus discounts on some stuff. I'm looking into some of that. Pretty good discounts out there when you hit 55, just saying. But, you know, there's a number of things, despite nearly 50 trips to Las Vegas, I've never done. So I started thinking about that. Now, I do believe that I will rectify the hang out at the pool thing in September. I'm going to be staying at Mandalay Bay for several days. So I'm definitely planning to hit up the wave pool at Mandalay Bay. So we'll knock that one off the list. But there's more. It's been, for so long, I have wanted to shoot craps, and I never did it. I don't remember if I mentioned that actually in the. I think I mentioned just sort of live play, but I got to play craps at some point. I got to throw the dice. I probably will like throw it off the table, and then I will just sulk away in disgrace. But I got to do that. That's number 2. So maybe we can make that happen. We talked about the Cirque du Soleil thing, and going to try to make that happen in September. I will be there for 8 nights, so there's definitely the potential to squeeze in one of the shows during that 8-night stretch. So hopefully that'll happen. I want to do a helicopter trip. And I'm not necessarily thinking I need to go all the way out to the Grand Canyon or anything. I just want to take a trip, fly over the Strip in a helicopter. I've never been in a helicopter, so I'm a little bit terrified. But I think I would enjoy it. I did fly in one of those like sort of little turboprop commuter planes once from, it was from Atlanta, Georgia from Greensboro, North Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia. And there were probably only like 30 of us on the flight. And it was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. There was a little bit more of a thrill to it. We were much closer to the ground, so you had, a good visual on that. Didn't mind that at all. So I think I want to do the helicopter thing. But it's kind of expensive. So maybe, sometime in the near future, maybe it's some kind of a little romantic thing somewhere along the way. That could be fun as well. So that's definitely on the list. And, there are properties I haven't stayed at. I think we talked about that a little bit. Definitely want to stay at places like Resorts World, Venetian. I'd like at some point to actually have stayed at all the Strip properties. I'd be curious if there's anyone watching this who has, or basically has. I know Vegas Best Ideas has hit up a lot of those properties, but I don't think they've hit everyone just yet. So be curious to see who's stayed at the most places. But and that is one of those cases where you find a place you really like and you kind of gravitate to go back to it consistently, which is normal. But that's definitely on the list as well. I mean, I've seen several sort of residencies, so maybe there's some of those I'd like to see as well. I'd like to eat probably at, I still haven't eaten, there's one Gordon Ramsay restaurant I haven't eaten at, that's the Steakhouse at Paris. So I'd like to cross that off the list because I've enjoyed the other restaurants. And maybe someday I would like to eat at like one of these super elite proper, restaurants, like Guy Savoy or Joël Robuchon or something like that. I'll have to get nicer clothes to do that, but I don't know. So what do you think? There are things on your Vegas bucket list you haven't done? Have any suggestions for things that should be added to a Vegas bucket list? I'd be interested to hear your feedback in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you all for listening today. We will be back next Saturday with another episode of Vegas Weekly. Until then, I hope that you all have a great, lucky, and healthy week, and we'll see you all again real soon. Bye-bye.